Welcome to Theology Unplugged. I'm Michael Patton, and this is Through Theology in a Year. We're on day 15 today. So 3 weeks we've made it through, almost 3 full weeks, weekdays, going through all of the theology, all of systematic theology from beginning to end, from prolegomena to eschatology. So you go through the Bible in a year a lot. And I'm not asking you to quit doing that. I've gone through the Bible in a year too. I do it every year. But go through theology in a year. I'm telling you, it'll be worth it. It's going to be so much fun. So I'm trying to create something unique here, something that is not out there anywhere that I know of, to where you can systematically, from beginning to end, go through all of theology. Now, having said that, I'm not sure if it'll take just 1 year. I'm trying to keep it at a year, but after I'm done with this first round through it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and kind of look at everything, all of the different sessions, because I'm creating, a new PowerPoint just for this, and actually a new PowerPoint for all the theology program, but just for this, and then I'll be able to map it all out and see which ones I need to put more in on or less in on. I don't know. That's kind of a little insider information about what it is we're doing. Listen, subscribe wherever you're at. Make comments. That is the way to get the algorithm going, whether it is Spotify or Apple Podcast or YouTube or Facebook. All of that helps. It really does if we want to spread the word about this. And I think if you're here, you probably understand the importance of going through all of systematic theology in a year, but you may not. Maybe this is the first time here. Maybe some friend of yours told you to start watching this, and I am really, really excited that you did. I hope you enjoy it. I know you're going to. Just keep with us. I mean, if you're just joining us here on 15, I'd like you to go back to number 1 and go through it all, but just understand this. I'm not dumbing things down. Although I am explaining things, there's a big difference. To dumb things down is basically to say, you're not smart enough to get this. And if I can get this, you can get this. If I'm smart enough, so are you. That's one thing I'm confident about. And I'm going to explain things as I go. So not dumbing down, but we are explaining things. So you got to put your thinking cap on as we move forward here. Today we are talking about the theological process. Oh, but beforehand, I'm supported by Patreon. You can see how to get to Patreon right there and support what it is what we're doing. If you believe in this, if you believe in what we're doing, we got all kinds of other things going on with Credo Ministries. Big, all kinds of stuff. But this is just one aspect. But if you believe in making theology accessible, then I want you to check us out and consider it. Consider $3 a month, $100 a month, whatever you can do. That would be great. Thank you so much. Let's remove those out of the way. Theological process. That is our subject today. Through theology in a year, the theological process. Let's go to the next slide and ask the question. What is the theological process? Okay, what is the process by which we derive our theology? If you remember last time, we talked about all the different categories of theology, and we talked about the biblical studies department, and the Bible being a category, your biblical studies being a category that you bring to the table whenever you do theology. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make an argument later on in this particular class, the prolegomena section of our Through the Bible in a Year, and in our bibliology, which is the study of the nature and transmission of the Bible, I'm going to make an argument that the Bible is our most important source. And so what I need to do this time is I want to push pause and not talk about philosophy as a source and how we do philosophy, or talk about our apologetics as a source and how we do apologetics. We talked about those last time, but I want to zero in on the biblical studies department and say, how is it that our Bible and our study of the Bible contributes to our theology, and what is the method, most specifically, what is the method we use whenever we approach the Bible, whenever we look at the Bible. And so I got this guy right here, and he is leading a Bible study. Now, of course, this poor guy, he's the second guy on the left. And this poor guy, he doesn't really know how to lead a Bible study. He's never led a Bible study before. This is his first time. You remember your first time if you ever did it. I certainly remember my first time whenever I first did it. I wish that many people showed the first time whenever I first taught the Bible. As a matter of fact, there was one girl who showed, and she showed 20 minutes late, and it was because she liked me. And it was very awkward. You know, doing a Bible study one-on-one, whenever you put out flyers all over people's cars and parking lots, and one person shows up, and it's this girl that likes you that you don't like, and I mean, she was really sweet and stuff. I don't mean I don't like her. I really did. It's just I didn't have those kind of feelings for her. And, she shows up and you sit down just with her and do a Bible study. Nothing works out quite right. So this guy right here is stressed. As you can see, he doesn't know what to do. And I was very stressed that day. I didn't know what to do. Okay, so you get together in a study like this, and you try to figure out how to lead the Bible study, and you want to lead the Bible study well. You want to honor God whenever you're leading the Bible study. And most importantly, for our topic right here, you want to lead it in such a way that whenever these other guys that are trusting in you, these other girls and guys that are trusting you, whenever they rely upon you, they are understanding, maybe subconsciously or maybe not even consciously, but you understand this, that you are contributing to their theology. You're contributing to the most important thing in their lives, how they think about God, how they formulate God, how they know God. Let him who rejoice in this, that he understands and knows me. And you are sitting here and you're going, this is so great. We can understand and know God, and it's through the Bible. At least that's a big source, and you want to lead these guys through the Bible, but now you're stressed because you've never done it before and you're not really sure how. So you try to come up with something. You try to come up maybe with a question. You say, wait a minute, maybe I can give these guys a question, and I can help them think through how to do a Bible study as we're doing it. Come up with questions, because that's always good. I mean, you can't go wrong whenever you're asking questions during those times. You want to get everybody else talking, and as long as everybody else is talking, you usually feel better about your Bible study. Whenever you're the only one talking, it really doesn't work out too good unless you really know what you're doing. And this guy doesn't know what he's doing. And so he wants to get everybody talking, and as long as everybody's talking, he thinks that might work out. And if you ask a question and nobody responds, you just sit there and you ask and you just sit there. And I've done this many times where you ask a question and you sit there and nobody responds ever. I mean, they're just sitting there staring at you. And then they all start looking down and around. And let me tell you something, they start feeling sorry for you. And if your audience feels sorry for you, and they feel sorry for you while you're teaching or while you're leading, you've lost it. It's gone. It's very hard to get back at that point, because that transfers over to you. They're scared for you. If they're scared for you, it's horrible. It's just horrible. You got to kind of lose yourself in your teaching. And this guy wants to lose himself by getting everything talking. So what does he say? All right, let's do this. I got an idea, he says. I got a great idea. Let me get everybody together, and in this Bible study, what we're going to do is we're going to have the main guy ask this question. What does it mean to you? So, this is his secret weapon. What does it mean to you? And so you get into Bible study, and we've all done this. We've all been in Bible studies like this, where you sit down and you get together and you ask everybody, after you read the passage of the Bible, what does this mean to you? So you go to Julie. Julie, what does this mean to you? Julie says, I was thinking it meant, that I should probably get a new job. Okay, good. And then, because it means something to her, right? So you're doing your job, you feel like. And then you go to the next person. Hey, Mark, what does this mean to you? And he said, well, to me, man, it's just, I need to forgive my brother. You're like, oh, forgiveness, that's great, man. I'm killing it in this Bible study because it's not only meaning something to people, but it's meaning something good. Okay, John, what does it mean to you? Well, to me, Mr. Leader of the Bible study, it means I probably should start reading my Bible more often. You're like, wow, yeah. I mean, look at this. I mean, it not only has it meant something to everybody and everybody's talking, but most of the stuff it means seems to be good. So we're good. We're doing good. I'm a good Bible study leader. And from now on, I've got a question I'm going to ask every single time we get together. And that is, what does it mean to you? Now, we got a problem with this. Because, and I'm going to say this up front, and then I'll explain it the rest of the time. Whenever you're especially whenever you're talking about the Bible, if you're asking the question, what does it mean to you? I don't care what they say. You've lost it. Because it does not matter. Whenever God speaks, you don't go to each person and say, what does this mean to you? Because it doesn't matter what it means to you. It doesn't matter one lick what it means to you. It matters only what it means to God. So asking that question, what does it mean to you, is the worst question you might be able to ask, because it gets people in a terrible situation where they're not even caring about what God becomes irrelevant in the process. What does it mean to you becomes the question, and what does it mean doesn't even get brought up. You see, we've got to ask the question, what does it mean, before we can ever get to anything that resembles what does it mean to me, because whatever it means to me has to be based upon what it meant, what it means to God. It's got to parallel it. And so really it's not a question of what does it mean to you ever. I understand what people mean whenever they say, what does it mean to you? They usually don't mean just anything subjective. They usually think they mean, what does it mean objectively to God? But it morphs into this, just what does it mean to me? And what we've got here, whenever we have this situation, is you've got a reader response method of reading a book, and Mortimer Adler. Mortimer Adler has a book. You may have heard of it. What's it called? It's called How to Read a Book, right? And I'm going to use this first because maybe some of you guys have read this particular book and you know the methodology of Mortimer Adler on how to read a book. You know the steps because they're great steps, right? And you read his book. You learned how to read books. Now you read books more efficiently and you understand it. But what is the reader response view of how to read a book? Whenever this was in the 1990s and I was in college, early 90s, and I was in college and I was getting close to being done, but my sister, who's 5 years younger than me, just went into college, and she was going to the University of Oklahoma. Now, I went to the University of Oklahoma, too, at first. That's where I had my art scholarship for. Then I didn't show up for any classes and got kicked out. So I spent the rest of my time of college trying to get my grades up high enough so that I could get out of college with a high enough grade point average to go to Dallas Seminary. But my sister came in later than me, obviously, 5 years younger, so she was 5 years later. And she got into college at OU, and she came home because she was literary. She loved literature. Literature was her favorite and still is her favorite. She loves Sherlock Holmes. Both my sisters absolutely love Sherlock Holmes. They're both very, very much into deep classic literature. And so she got into a class that was a literature class. And she came back and told me, she said, Michael, you won't believe what we did in class today. I was like, what? She's like, well, here's the deal. We were going through Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle. Arthur Ignatius Conan Doyle. Isn't that a great name? Arthur Ignatius Conan Doyle. Just to think of as a Patton. Arthur, King Arthur, Ignatius, Saint Ignatius, Conan the Barbarian, and Patton, General Patton. If I would have thought of that, I would have named my boy that. But anyway, that aside, she wanted to go through Sherlock Holmes, and she was excited about it. He's a classic writer, and these are classic works. And so at the end of her class, she said, here's what the teacher told us to do, was to go home and find the sexual elements in these books. And my sister was like, wait a minute, these aren't about that. That's not what they are. And the teacher, and this was the early 90s or mid-90s, maybe 1995, and the teacher said, it doesn't matter. I want you to find that. That's part of what this class is about. It's kind of the genius of this class. I'm going to teach you to find what you need to find in every piece of literature. And I mean, I was absolutely blown away by this because I was getting into Bible study. I was getting into understanding our cultural change, and this is whenever postmodernism started becoming the buzzword, and I was reading a bunch of books on postmodernism and saying, how do people think today compared to how they thought 20 or 30 years ago? And I was really excited about this because it seems like I was diagnosing the problem in our culture and the problem we were moving to, and I had to step in. Why I was going to seminary and going to do what I needed to do was because I was going to step in and stop what was happening. You know, it was that's what I planned. We got to get in here and we got to stop this. We got to stop the change. It's ridiculous. People not believing in objective truth. That can't be. We're not going to move that way as a culture. That's impossible. I mean, how do you do that? Because even to say there's no such thing as an objective truth is an objective truth. So I thought, oh, this can't last. This can't last. But sure enough, here comes my sister home from University of Oklahoma, and she says, this is what we did today. We learned this. We're learning how to interpret Sherlock Holmes, Sir Arthur Ignatius Conan Doyle, in a way we want to, whatever way we want to. And my mind exploded. I was like, I cannot believe this. It's true. All these things I'm reading, these books about postmodernism and the rise of it and what's going to happen, what started happening in the 1960s in the professor level is coming down into the college level, the student level, in the 1990s already, and the next thing you know, everybody's going to be defining everything according to how they meant to them. And this was back whenever Bill Clinton, I think he said depends on what your definition of is. And I mean, that was the illustration of a lifetime that us preachers had, or me going into preaching. And so we use that all the time. Depends on what the definition of is. And so what we're talking about here, we're talking about the difference between reader response and some type of objective understanding of a book. And what we were finding, or what I was finding, was that at this time already there was a transition, a massive transition, not only that was happening, but that had happened, and it looked like the unthinkable was happening. Relative truth. It doesn't matter what it means. It just matters what it means to you is becoming mainstream. Now, I really wasn't sure at that time. I still wasn't sure. I remember I taught this in 2002, and if you've ever watched the Theology program, once again, our program of systematic theology, you can find it at credocourses.com. That is the 60 sessions. That's what I'm going through here. But I've got the old PowerPoints and the old. I mean, it looks 2002. So that's part of the reason why I'm updating this. But back then, during class, I remember sitting in class, and talking about postmodernism and that relative truth is the way truth is becoming. Your truth is your truth and my truth is my truth. There's no such thing as a real truth. Your interpretation of Sir Arthur Ignatius Conan Doyle is your interpretation of Sir Arthur Ignatius Conan Doyle. Got that backwards. And it doesn't matter what Sir Arthur Ignatius Conan Doyle meant. It matters what you mean. It doesn't matter that he wrote the book. It matters that you're reading the book. So forget about him writing the book and just think about you reading the book and what you need. So we're back to the Bible study where they are sitting around and they're asking, what did it mean to you? So you've got Sherlock Holmes, and everybody's asking that question. Okay, what does this mean to you? That's what the teacher was asking my sister to say. And so we have that situation, and I'm like, this can't become mainstream. There's no way. There's no way a philosophy as foolish as this can become mainstream. And sure enough, here we are, 20 years later, 25 years later, 30 years later almost, from that time, 30 years later from that time, and it is mainstream. And you have a massive division in the culture, and that division really looks like this. Reader response first, Mortimer Adler, How to Read a Book. The reader response subjective view versus the objective view. What is the objective view? Well, the objective view goes in this direction. It starts by saying, there is a way to read a book, how to read a book. And this is the method. First, you classify the book, identify the type. You know what that means? It means there is a way to classify it, and there is a type. Whenever you pick up Sherlock Holmes, what type of book is it? It is a fiction. It is a mystery fiction. So you get that down first. And then next you would skim the book. You'd go from the beginning to the end, just kind of looking it over, looking through the chapters. And this is a wonderful way to read a book, by the way. But you get an overview. You understand the big picture of the book as best you can. And so get the overview. And then you go and you understand the message. You begin to dig in and you're trying to discern what is the main idea. What is the big idea of this book? What is happening? So in a mystery book such as that, you would look for the climax. What's it leading towards? Where's the climax at, and define the climax. And then you would critique the book, assess the arguments. Now, this would be a different type of critique on a fiction than it would on a nonfiction. But if it was a nonfiction, you would say, how valid are the arguments that get us to the main idea? There's the main idea that's argued for, but do the arguments actually lead to the main idea? And then finally, afterwards, once you have the main idea, you synthesize the knowledge, or you integrate the information. What does that mean? That means you begin to work that book into your life. Again, whenever you're talking about a fiction book, that's different than a nonfiction book, but they can relate. You can find inspiration within a fiction book from other people and say, why did I find inspiration from them? And begin to integrate that inspiration in your life. But on a nonfiction book, this is where you look at it and you say, are the arguments valid? Oh, yes, they are. Okay. Well, what does this mean for me? How does this, here we go. This is the last part, right? What does this mean for me? I don't really like, what does it mean for you? I like, how does it apply to you? So in the end, what you're doing is you're looking at a book. You're getting around in a Bible study, and they have done this. They have gone through. They have classified the book. They have skimmed the book. They have understood the message. They have critiqued the book. Now they're ready to come and for you to ask this question, how does it apply to you? Which is really the only question that you as a Bible study leader can give at that point. If you're trying to figure out how this book affected them. Well, how did the main arguments of the book affect you? How can you apply what the message already is of this book to you? So what we're going to do over the next few, 3, 4, 5 sessions, I don't know how long this is going to be, but we are going to take this and I'm going to show you how to do this from the Bible. And I'll give you a sneak peek right now. I'll give you a sneak peek of what it's going to look at, and you can pause it and you can try to figure it out, which I'm sure many of you will, because it's a really, really great a slide that I've come up with here. But I am gonna let me sneak peek it. Let me get on it just to make sure that I don't preview too much. Here we go. I'm gonna flash this out there. Okay, this is what it's going to look like. We are going to build toward this over the next few weeks. We're going to illustrate it in so many different ways whenever it comes to the Bible. And I'm going to argue, and you're going to have to assess this argument. This is how to do biblical theology, the most important part of your systematic theology. I will argue that as well later on. But it is the most important part of your systematic theology, and this is what it looks like. Right there. I'll give you 3 seconds. You guys who are at Spotify, you're missing out. This is just, you got to get on YouTube or something, because you're going to have to, over the next few weeks, see this chart. It's a masterpiece. I wish I could show you. I don't have it. The old chart. I should have brought it in here and showed you the 2002 version. It is very 2002. But having said that, we just got to the point during this session, and let me preview it. Okay, let me just preview it. We're gonna ask, what did it mean? That's the first question. That is the very first question you can ask. What did it mean? Then, what does it mean? You see the difference? What did it mean? Then from that, you derive what does it mean? And then finally, not what does it mean to you. I'm changing that question around because I don't like it. We're going to ask, how does it apply? And you can say, how does it apply to me? How does it apply to my situation? It doesn't matter, okay? But these are just the basic questions. What did it mean? What does it mean? How does it apply? That is the method I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you step by step, every bit of the way, how to do the what does it mean? What did it mean? How to do the what does it mean, and doing the analogy of Scripture and how to extract timeless principles. I'm going to give you an example after example after example. We're going to go through the 10 Commandments, a lot of the 10 Commandments with this, because I think they are some of the best examples that we can have in going through this methodology. So get ready, learn it. If you don't know the 10 Commandments, I mean, I could break this out and just do a separate section on the 10 Commandments, because we're going to go through it so well, but we're going to use this method at every step I'm going to show you. So I pray that you're here over the next few lessons. And dare I say this, I've said this before, and I'm telling you, I still believe this. 25 years later, I still believe this. I think that this chart that we will be going over, this method we're going over, since I believe that your biblical theology is the most important part of your systematic theology, then it would stand to reason that your method for biblical theology, this chart, is the most important method in your life. That's a big statement. This is the most important method. This is right here. That is the most important chart I've ever learned. And this, therefore, what that chart represents is the most important method that you can use in any area of life, because it pertains to the biggest, most important area of life, how you understand, interpret God, and integrate Him into your life. So get ready for that. All right, guys, listen, don't forget Credo Ministries and Patreon. If you believe what we're doing, support me on Patreon, support what we're doing, whatever level would be great. And also, listen, whenever you do this on Patreon, you do get the entire theology program whenever you subscribe at a certain level. I think even at the lowest levels, you get lots, even at the $3 level. But the $9 level, the $25 level, you get everything. And then everything above 25 is just gravy. It's just helping because you believe in what we're doing here. But I know some of you do believe in what I'm doing, but you can't support. Go over to Patreon and subscribe. You can subscribe for free, and we do have free stuff that we give out all the time. And at least you can get kind of updates and messages and everything else. So I pray that I will see you over there, and I pray that I will see you soon. And it's been a great blessing having you with me during this time, and we will see you next time.